First of all, yes, I am for those of you who don't know me, I'm the regional manager in Ontario for TE Wealth. I'm also the head of financial planning nationally. And have been conscripted, I guess, to do tonight's presentation. Our actual U.S. expert managed to take the trips across the country and go to Vancouver and Calgary and to Montreal, but when it came down to doing the presentation in his home city, he decided to go to Iceland. So, not the United States, actually, but to Iceland. So I am kind of, I guess, the backup plan, and I'm sorry for that for you people. But I do have a lot of clients who are U.S. citizens and have U.S. properties and so on. So I'm quite familiar. If there are any questions, though, we'll just email them to Brent, and hopefully he's still up and can answer them. So I'm going to talk today about a little bit about the U.S. real estate market. I think we've all kind of seen what's happened there in the last few years, but I will touch on it a little bit. I'll talk then about Canadian snowbirds, which I imagine some of you are, and talking about spending time in the United States and some of the things that have popped up in the last few years that we're starting to focus on more. I'll talk a little bit about owning U.S. real estate as a Canadian, and then lastly I'll touch on the dreaded U.S. estate tax, which I don't think enough of us are too familiar with, and something we should all really be careful of, even as Canadian citizens and residents. So starting with the U.S. real estate market, what I have up here is a chart showing both the average and the mean return on real estate over time, house prices. And you're looking back from 1963 up to 2013, so over the last 50 years. And I think it's probably not something that would surprise anyone in terms of a pretty gradual run up until about year 2000, and then this massive upward trend that sort of pushed real estate way up, followed by a massive drop on the other side when we had the crisis in 2008. But maybe surprisingly is this sort of run back up over the last few years, where we've seen a lot of people moving back into this market. The second chart sort of shows the same thing, but this just looks at the average house, so it's sort of that middle level house and what's actually happened for that. The red line takes inflation out of the picture, okay? So if you remove inflation and you take sort of the mean, the real return out into the picture, you can see this flat line of growth over time. And the interesting thing that I took from this was, and I get a lot of my clients saying, well, you know, the market has been really kind of crummy, and I think I should move money to real estate, and you know, I think that's a much better market to be in. The actual return over time from 1970 to 2012 in the United States has been about 4% in real estate, which I think would surprise a lot of people, because we have generally sort of, I think, experienced that run-up from 2000 to 2008 and use that as our guide for what's actually happened in that market. And it's actually been a relatively low return. When you get into what Andrew was talking about, you start adding rents into the picture or income into the picture, is where you start to bring those returns up to the same kind of level that you would get in the stock market over that time. But the actual physical return of a property is actually not that high, really.